Hey, welcome to Tesla Shorts Time Daily, episode 427, coming to you from Vancouver. It's April 5th, 2026. Let's dive into today's Tesla news. You know, it's getting harder to ignore how the competitive landscape keeps shifting underneath Tesla. BYD has now outsold Tesla globally for the second consecutive month, according to the latest figures. This marks a continued shift in the competitive landscape for both pure EV and plug-in hybrid sales. For Tesla's business, it highlights intensifying pressure in key international markets where BYD's lower-priced lineup is finding real traction with buyers who are more price-sensitive. The development underscores how the broader EV industry is becoming more fragmented, with multiple strong players no longer just nipping at Tesla's heels but actually pulling ahead in volume in certain months. From a competitive standpoint, this shows how regional manufacturers with cost advantages, local supply chains, and government support are carving out significant market share that used to feel more secure for Tesla. It also reminds us that Tesla faces very different challenges depending on the geography, the types of vehicles customers are choosing, and how willing they are to pay a premium for the brand. What's interesting is that this isn't some sudden collapse. It's been building as BYD scales production and brings more affordable options to emerging markets. While Tesla is clearly feeling that heat overseas, it's still winning some important battles closer to home, which gives a bit of balance to the picture. Speaking of those regional wins, Tesla has taken the top spot in South Korea's imported car market for the first time. The company is leading a noticeable shift toward three-power imported vehicles in that market, which is pretty telling. This news reflects growing acceptance of EVs in a market that was traditionally dominated by luxury gasoline models from German brands. For Tesla, this represents a meaningful win in an Asian market outside of China, where the brand has sometimes struggled to gain the same kind of momentum. It could signal improving brand perception and potential for further growth in the region if they can build on this foundation. What stands out to me is how this success comes despite the broader softness we are seeing in some other international markets. It suggests that targeted brand building, the right product mix, and maybe just the right timing can still create pockets of strength even in challenging times. South Korea has a tech-savvy population that seems increasingly open to Tesla's approach, and this first-place ranking could help open more doors with corporate fleets and younger buyers. It's a reminder that while the global story has some tough chapters right now, individual markets can still deliver encouraging results. Good news in Asia, but the overall first quarter picture was more mixed, and that's probably what most people are talking about. Tesla maintained its position as the global leader in pure electric vehicle deliveries during the first quarter of 2026. The company delivered more battery electric cars than any other automaker despite overall market challenges and slowing demand in several regions. This leadership matters for Tesla's competitive standing and brand perception in the EV space because it keeps the narrative that Tesla still defines what a serious electric car company looks like. It also provides a useful counterpoint to narratives focusing solely on recent sales softness or trying to paint the whole picture as decline. Staying at the top of pure battery electric deliveries shows that Tesla continues to dominate the segment it helped create, even as the total addressable market gets more crowded. That consistency is worth noting even when total industry conditions are not ideal and when hybrid options are pulling some buyers away. That leadership did not stop the market from reacting negatively to the actual delivery figures, though. Tesla delivered 358,023 vehicles in the first quarter. That number is down from 386,810 in the first quarter of 2024. Shares fell about 5% after analysts described the first quarter delivery numbers as underwhelming compared to expectations. The reaction reflects genuine investor concern over the pace of growth in the current environment, where higher interest rates and economic uncertainty are weighing on big-ticket purchases. For the business, this highlights how delivery figures remain a key quarterly benchmark that Wall Street still uses as a primary measuring stick. Tesla's response will likely involve demonstrating progress on new products, clearer timelines for refreshed models, and continued cost improvements across the manufacturing side. The stock slide also raises questions about how Tesla communicates progress during periods of slower growth, especially when expectations have been set quite high in previous years. With those numbers came the usual debate about what is really behind the softness, and it's a conversation that's become pretty familiar. Tesla's first quarter 2026 deliveries came in at 358,023 vehicles, prompting questions about whether Elon Musk's political activities contributed to softer demand in certain markets. The analysis examines multiple factors behind the decline rather than attributing it to a single cause, which feels like the responsible way to look at it. For Tesla's business, this discussion reflects how external perceptions can influence buying decisions in certain markets, particularly in more politically polarized regions. The company will need to focus on product execution and consistent communication to offset any brand-related headwinds that might exist. Some observers are asking whether Musk's political activities contributed to weaker demand in specific regions, and it is a conversation that comes up periodically and deserves thoughtful consideration rather than quick dismissal. It's complicated because brand loyalty for Tesla has always been tied to more than just the cars, but when that association shifts for some buyers, it can show up in the numbers. At the same time, plenty of the slowdown can be explained by broader economic factors, competition, and the natural pause many people are taking before the next wave of more affordable models arrives. While the EV business faces those questions, Tesla continues pushing its autonomy technology forward, and we saw some interesting updates this week. Tesla has rolled out new user interface features specifically for full self-driving in European markets. The updates aim to improve clarity and driver interaction with the autonomy system under stricter regional regulations that require more explicit driver monitoring. This matters for technology adoption, as clearer interfaces can help build user confidence and give regulators more comfort that the system isn't overpromising. For customers, it represents incremental progress toward making supervised autonomy feel more intuitive and less mysterious during everyday drives. The new elements are designed to align better with European expectations around driver monitoring and system transparency, which could smooth the path for wider rollout. These kinds of software improvements show that Tesla is still iterating on the experience even while the underlying technology keeps evolving. On the autonomy side, there is progress, but also fresh reminders that the system still has clear limits. Tesla claims its full self-driving software helps prevent hydroplaning in slippery conditions. Yet one owner reported his wife hydroplaned into a light pole while using the system, which understandably raised eyebrows. The conflicting accounts highlight ongoing questions about the real-world capabilities and limitations of current FSD versions, especially in challenging weather. For customers, this serves as a reminder that driver attention is still very much required no matter how advanced the system feels. It also points to the challenge Tesla faces in clearly communicating system boundaries so owners don't develop unrealistic expectations. These kinds of incidents show why managing expectations around advanced driver assistance remains difficult, and why clear, honest language in the interface and owner's manual matters so much. Safety questions around Tesla vehicles took a much more serious turn this week with some heartbreaking news. A lawsuit claims a father and son died in a Tesla after a battery system fire. The incident is now part of legal action that could scrutinize Tesla's thermal management and fire suppression systems in detail. For the company, this represents a serious challenge in maintaining public trust around battery technology, especially when the stakes are this high. Tesla will likely need to provide detailed technical responses as the case proceeds through the courts. The lawsuit alleging a father and son burned to death in a Tesla due to a battery system fire has put renewed focus on extreme thermal events. While Tesla's battery architecture includes multiple safety layers, high-profile incidents like this can erode consumer confidence regardless of how statistically rare they might be. The company has historically responded to such cases with detailed investigations and design improvements where warranted, and that approach will be important here too. These situations highlight the tension between rapid innovation and the need for absolute confidence in safety systems, because even one tragic story travels far. That tragic story is getting a lot of attention, but Tesla is still expanding its physical presence on the ground in meaningful ways. Construction of the new Tesla Center in Wesley Chapel is nearing completion. The facility will likely include sales, service, and delivery capabilities for local customers in that growing part of Florida. This expansion matters for customer experience by reducing wait times and improving access in growing suburban areas where demand has been building. It shows Tesla continuing to invest in traditional infrastructure even as it pushes software and autonomy features so heavily. The new center adds to the company's physical retail and service footprint in Florida, which remains one of its stronger markets. For owners in that part of the state, this should translate into more convenient service appointments and faster delivery experiences, which can make a real difference in overall satisfaction. It's always interesting to see how mainstream voices outside the usual tech circles respond to Tesla vehicles. Jay Leno recently tested and commented extensively on one of Tesla's latest electric vehicles, The veteran host's perspective carries weight with both car enthusiasts and mainstream audiences who might not follow every software update. His feedback could influence how the newest model is perceived beyond typical EV buyers and into the broader automotive community. It is a reminder that cultural acceptance still plays a role even as technology advances rapidly. Leno's take offers an interesting mainstream lens on where Tesla vehicles fit in the broader automotive conversation, and those kinds of endorsements can sometimes reach people that Tesla's own marketing doesn't. At the same time, we also got a refreshingly honest take from someone who's been living with a Tesla for a while. Top Gear's James May has detailed 12 specific complaints about living with his Tesla Model 3. The candid list from the British presenter offers an honest look at everyday frustrations that dedicated fans sometimes overlook in their enthusiasm. It provides useful feedback on areas where Tesla could still improve the ownership experience, from software quirks to practical details. Stories like this often resonate because they humanize the product beyond the hype and quarterly delivery numbers. Hearing detailed criticisms from someone who clearly appreciates the cars can point to real product gaps worth addressing rather than dismissing them as nitpicking. On the used market side, there's a story making the rounds that caught my attention. A U.S. buyer acquired a 200,000-mile Tesla Model S Raven Performance for far less than expected. The transaction has people talking about how quickly Tesla values can depreciate on high-mileage examples, especially as newer models arrive. It raises interesting questions about long-term ownership costs and residual values that potential buyers need to consider. For potential used buyers, this could represent an opportunity to get into a high-performance Tesla at a steep discount, though it also signals caution for those worried about battery longevity at that mileage. These high-mileage examples circulating in the market give us early data points on how Tesla vehicles hold up over extended use, and so far the durability seems pretty impressive even if the financial depreciation curve is steep. Shifting over to Canada for a moment, British Columbia has lowered its 2035 zero-emission vehicle sales target while expanding charging infrastructure without reinstating consumer rebates. The policy shift reflects the practical challenges governments face in hitting aggressive EV adoption timelines when economic conditions and buyer readiness vary. For Tesla, it means a mixed regulatory environment in Canada where infrastructure improves but purchase incentives remain absent, which puts more pressure on the product itself to drive demand. It illustrates how policy support for EVs is evolving rather than expanding uniformly across jurisdictions. The adjustment in British Columbia shows that even in progressive provinces, targets can be tempered by real-world considerations like grid capacity, housing costs, and consumer sentiment. It's a pragmatic move that might actually help by setting more achievable goals while still building out the necessary charging network. Finally, Tesla owners and EV enthusiasts are discussing whether prioritizing the Cybertruck over the Semi was a strategic misstep. Critics argue the Semi could be having greater impact right now, given diesel price volatility and commercial fleet needs that are more immediate. The conversation highlights differing views on Tesla's product development sequencing and where the biggest opportunities lie. It shows how the community actively debates which vehicle programs deserve the most engineering focus at any given time. This debate within the owner community reveals different perspectives on where Tesla should allocate resources for maximum near-term impact versus longer-term disruption. Now, one thing worth watching is how battery fire safety concerns continue after this week's fatal incident. The lawsuit has put renewed focus on extreme thermal events in Tesla vehicles. While incidents like this remain statistically rare, they understandably capture public attention and can shape perceptions. Tesla's battery architecture includes multiple safety layers, yet maintaining trust requires ongoing transparency and clear communication when issues arise. The company has historically responded to such cases with detailed investigations and design improvements where warranted. Clearer communication about battery fire risks and prevention systems will be important for maintaining trust going forward. Taking a step back, it is worth thinking about how Tesla balances its ambitions across vehicles, autonomy, and energy. The recent delivery numbers and competitive pressures show that the core automotive business still faces real challenges that need steady attention. At the same time, the continued leadership in pure battery electric deliveries suggests the fundamental product remains strong in the hearts of many buyers. Questions about brand perception and political influence add another layer of complexity to understanding demand patterns right now. Meanwhile, the incremental improvements to full self-driving in Europe demonstrate steady technical progress even if real-world limitations persist and require careful management. The expansion of service centers like the one in Wesley Chapel shows Tesla has not abandoned the traditional customer touchpoints that matter for ownership satisfaction and loyalty. Balancing these different priorities is never straightforward, yet Tesla continues to push on multiple fronts simultaneously. That approach carries both risks and potential rewards depending on how well it's executed in the coming quarters. Tomorrow, keep an eye on any updates from the Wesley Chapel Center opening or further details emerging from the battery fire lawsuit that could give us more insight into both customer experience improvements and safety-related developments. That's your Tesla news for today. TSLA closed at $360.59, down $20.32, 5.3%. If you found this useful, a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify really helps new listeners find the show. You can also find us on X at Tesla Shorts Time. I'm Patrick in Vancouver. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow. This podcast is curated by Patrick, but generated using AI voice synthesis of my voice using ElevenLabs. The primary reason to do this is I unfortunately don't have the time to be consistent with generating all the content and wanted to focus on creating consistent and regular episodes for all the themes that I enjoy and I hope others do as well.